Bum, 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 bum. Hey guys, so yeah, the King of the Monsters is back. It's been about 12 years since the last Japanese Godzilla movie has come out in the theaters here, and that was Godzilla Final Wars. Now Godzilla's back in Godzilla Resurgence, and he's back with a vengeance. I mean, he's back in a sense. Have you seen the suit design? While the English title is called Godzilla Resurgence, the Japanese title is called Shin Gojira. Shin basically meaning new. Yeah, this Godzilla, he's definitely new, and he's definitely a lot different than all the other Godzillas we've come to know and love throughout the years. So is Godzilla Resurgence worth this 12-year wait? Now, the answer to that question solely depends on the type of Godzilla you are looking forward to watching. Hello YouTube, my name is Ray from Asian Filmist, and I'm just a guy who loves movies. Now, before we dive into this review of Godzilla Resurgence, I would like to just point out one thing that I would like to do different with this video. And as usual with our other reviews, I'll talk about the story, the goods, and the bads, but then if you decide to stick around to the very end of the video, I'll dive into some spoiler talk. And don't worry, I'll give you a warning when the spoilers are about to happen. But anyway, let's talk about Godzilla Resurgence. Now, this latest entry in the King of Monsters filmography is helmed by two directors. The first guy is Anno Hideaki, which many of you guys know as the guy behind Neon Genesis Evangelion. And the other guy is Higuchi Shinji, which many of you may or may not enjoy looking forward to, simply because he was the guy behind both live-action adaptations of Attack on Titan. But you know, those live-action Attack on Titan movies weren't too bad if you just think of those as basically Daikaiju Tokusatsu movies, which is basically the genre that Godzilla falls into. Now, Godzilla Resurgence stars a whole bunch of big names in Japanese cinema, but everyone is led by two actors, Hasegawa Hiroki and Ishihara Satomi, both of whom you may recognize from the live-action adaptations of Attack on Titan once again. So anyways, let's dive into the story of Godzilla Resurgence. Now, Godzilla Resurgence follows your typical storyline of a traditional solo Godzilla movie, in that Japan is just enjoying its day-to-day, regular everyday life. Then suddenly, out of the blue or out of the water comes Godzilla, and he's ready to wreak havoc in all of Tokyo. And just like most of Godzilla's solo movies, it's packed with lots of contemporary themes that are going on in Japanese society. For example, like in the original Godzilla movie, it's packed with lots of themes and story points revolving around the fear of nuclear weapons and nuclear power. A lot of those themes of the fear of nuclear energy is still prevalent in Godzilla Resurgence, but also filling the plot this time around, we have themes of the use of the military and just how much force and power the military, particularly Japan's military, can exercise without getting itself into trouble. But you know, we can save all those heavy topics for another day. Instead, I really want to talk about how I felt about Godzilla Resurgence, you know, as someone who has been a fan since I can remember. Alright, the usual, let's talk about what I liked about Godzilla Resurgence. First of all, I really like the pacing. It's pretty much non-stop from beginning to end, without really taking the moment to breathe and pause. I mean, it does slow down a little bit, but even when it does, you feel like it's still like on this rush. One thing I really like about the fast pacing of this movie is that it does a good job at building up Godzilla for when the moment he finally comes out. And you know, we don't have to wait too long till Godzilla finally shows up. It's like in the first 10 or 15 minutes of the movie. And needless to say, just about every scene featuring Godzilla is fantastic. And it really shows how far along Toho has come with their tokusatsu work. One thing that Godzilla Resurgence does really well above all the other Godzilla movies is its special effects. Now, it was a really seamless blend of CG, traditional tokusatsu suit acting, and many other kinds of practical effects. And they did a very excellent job of putting Godzilla in what looked to be actual footage of Tokyo's cityscape. You know, as opposed to making Godzilla look like he's wrecking toy buildings and toy cars. And it just gave Godzilla this new sense of realism that we really hadn't been able to experience in any of the films before. You know, and they actually used equipment that looked like real military vehicles as opposed to toys. And the one thing that contributed to this new sense of realism is the way the film successfully captures the size of the monster. Like, you know, the older films, you knew it was a guy in a suit, and you know, you had no problem with it because that's what you watch Godzilla movies for. This time around, you know, you still know it's a guy in a suit, or you know that it's a CG model. Like the way they framed all the shots, you really felt like Godzilla was huge. There were lots of low angle shots looking up at Godzilla from ground level, and they really blended Godzilla's suit with the surrounding houses and buildings really seamlessly. And you know, usually the shots where it shows a full body of Godzilla, at that point in the older films, it definitely looked like a guy in a suit, but because of the way they blended everything together, it really did look like a giant monster wreaking havoc on the city. And you know, while we're on the topic of visual effects and Godzilla himself, let's just say one thing. This is not the Godzilla of your childhood. This Godzilla's bad, he's mean, he's freaking hideous, and he's by far the most different Godzilla we have ever seen. But you know, we'll dive into more specifics in the spoiler part of this review. But you know, we can say that Godzilla is back to being a walking natural disaster. A natural disaster with no remorse, just pure, utter destruction. And you know, the way Godzilla Resurgence handled it, I'm totally fine with it. And you know, the icing on the cake was they brought back a lot of the old Godzilla theme songs that we all come to know and love. You know, from the Godzilla March to the songs that usually plays when the military is starting to get ready. And you know, they even brought back the King Ghidorah theme song. And whenever those songs played, it's just pure nostalgia. But the new songs they featured are all really haunting, really scary, and really added to the atmosphere. One of those songs, I don't know the name of it, but you can hear it in the trailer. You know, as much as I love everything visually from Godzilla Resurgence, there was a whole lot of other things I didn't really like, I wasn't really feeling. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the things I didn't really like about Godzilla Resurgence. First of all, let's cut back. Do you remember how I said I really liked the pacing of the movie? Actually, there's another side of that coin. Tacked onto the fast pacing and the frequent cuts, there was a lot of talking. And you know, talking's fine with any movie, and it's necessary to really explain the plot, right? But it felt like the words were just machine gunning at you non-stop from beginning to end. No, I mean really, it was like, something strange was spotted in the ocean, I don't know what it is. From the looks of things, it looks like to be a volcano. No, I don't think it's a volcano, I think it's a giant creature. No, can't be possible, those things don't exist in this world. Now, not only were the words non-stop, it was also at a very high tempo. Like I swear, all the words were constantly at 200 beats per minute. So that essentially meant, if you zoned out for a moment, that you probably missed out on a lot of information. A lot of which probably wasn't necessary. I mean, this is a Godzilla movie, for crying out loud. So it felt kind of unnecessary. I mean, a lot of the dialogue was very dry, it was very dragging, and it made scenes feel much more longer than how they should have been. And you know, not only was there talking, there was also a lot of sitting around. I mean, it was to the level of the Star Wars prequels. Now, the only saving grace of Godzilla Resurgence's sitting down scenes, as compared to the Star Wars prequels, was the ADHD-like cuts between different camera angles whenever it zoomed in on different characters. But there's only so much you can take from guys sitting around talking before you just want Godzilla to come out and just wreck things again. Especially when all they really talk about is military planning, damage assessment, and ethics in exercising military power. That being said, kids will be absolutely bored. You know, it's quite known that the main demographic for Godzilla movies are, you know, kids. But it seemed like that this movie targets the kids from back then that have grown up into the adults now. So yeah, the kids that are just waiting around for Godzilla to smash things, yeah, I'm not gonna really enjoy this movie. Especially because this Godzilla movie comes packed with a lot of subtitles. You know, kids, they don't like reading when watching movies, they just want to see things blow up. So you got subtitles that flash the name of each and every individual character, and also what their job is. You know, it wouldn't even matter if the character was important to the plot as a whole. It'll still show their name and job. Like, it'll show the name of character 1, the Prime Minister of Japan. Then it'll show character 2, the janitor of the school. And even if it's a strategy meeting, like meeting for planning the counterattack, everything gets a subtitle. But you know, Godzilla does come out after all the talking, after all the subtitles, but the biggest gripe I have about Godzilla Resurgence is that the big guy only has such small screen time. Like, it's comparable to the 2014 American Godzilla movie. And you know how everyone's biggest complaint about that movie is that Godzilla wasn't really in the movie at all? I would argue that Godzilla Resurgence just has a few more minutes of Godzilla compared to that movie. But I will say, when Godzilla does show up in Godzilla Resurgence, he does deliver. Alright, so now we're going to dive into the spoiler part of this review. So if you don't want to hear any spoilers, you can exit this video right now. Otherwise, we'll start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright, now let's talk about some spoilers of Godzilla Resurgence. Now, I'm not going to talk about any spoilers of the plot, rather, I want to talk about spoilers of Godzilla himself, and why Godzilla in this movie lives up to the Japanese name, Shin Gojira. Shin, which means new. As you all have seen, and as you all know, Godzilla's suit this time around is a lot more hideous than anything we've ever seen. And it just doesn't stop at the suit design. He's actually hideous whenever he uses his powers. When you first meet Godzilla in the movie, he's a lot smaller than what the trailers make him out to be. And you know, when you first meet Godzilla, he's actually swimming through the streets of Tokyo. In the same kind of fashion and the same kind of way it would usually show him swimming through the ocean. And then when he stands up, suddenly you see he doesn't have any arms. And you see throughout the movie, Godzilla continues to evolve or mutate, you know, however you want to call it. Like at first he has no arms, yeah? And then suddenly his arms grow out. He eventually grows to be the size that you see in the trailers, and it's freaking huge. And as I said before, Godzilla is ridiculously scary in this movie. Like when the military starts fighting off against Godzilla, they start off with the small bullets, and you see it just ricocheting off his skin. And he just keeps moving forward, just no reaction, just keeps the same menacing grimace. Just walking forward slowly, no reaction to the bullets, just looking straight at the camera. And then gradually, the military moves on to bigger bullets, slowly and slowly bigger. They go from regular machine gun bullets to missiles to bombs, but Godzilla just doesn't stop. And then some American bombers drop some heavy-duty bombs on Godzilla, and that's when things start getting messy. Like we see Godzilla's heat ray, and you know, we all have seen it before, but trust me, you haven't seen it like this. Like when Godzilla's jaws open, I'll try to do it right here. You know, normally this is Godzilla's jaws when he fires his beam, right? But in Godzilla Resurgence, he opens it really wide, and then his bottom jaw kind of splits apart like he was the Predator, and then out shoots his heat ray. It almost feels like a cannon from an alien spaceship, and it switches between laser mode and then just full-on fire mode, and just levels the city around him. Actually, the whole entire city is burning up in flames the size of Godzilla. It is pretty damn ridiculous. And it's not just that, he also has heat rays that come out from the spikes on his back. It's like, alright guys, you already gave Godzilla a massive upgrade to his heat ray, but now you're gonna give him back lasers? It's like any aircraft, they're gonna try to attack Godzilla from behind. Nah, it's alright, Godzilla has that covered, just whoosh. And just when you thought things couldn't get any ridiculous, his damn tail shoots a heat ray. It's like, how many heat rays are they gonna give Godzilla? You know, I feel that these additions will kind of split all of Godzilla's fans down the middle. Some are really going to dislike these changes. Like it veers too far off from the traditional Godzilla formula. Like, you know, Godzilla in each movie has different design changes in the suit, and maybe an additional power here and there. But the stuff they added in this movie, I think is gonna turn a lot of fans off. But then the other half of the fans, you know, they'll be all for it. I, for one, is all for it. I mean, Godzilla was already ridiculous looking, he was already hideous, and they gave him all these new powers that basically rival that of a mothership of Independence Day. And like I said, it was different and it was definitely daring, and I appreciate them trying to think of something new, something to give Godzilla a surprise factor for this new generation of fans. That is, if those fans can sit through all the dialogue, of course. And the last thing I'll talk about is the ending. Now, they don't actually kill off Godzilla, they actually set up for more Godzilla movies to come. And the last shot of Godzilla before they go into the ending credits was really damn cool. I won't point out what it is here. I'll let you guys see it for yourself when the movie finally comes to the west. But it zooms in really close to Godzilla, and you can see the little subtle details that are the reason why Godzilla looks hideous as he does. But anyway, those are my thoughts on Godzilla Resurgence. How about you guys? What did you think? For guys that haven't watched it yet, what kind of questions do you have about this movie? What kind of things are you looking forward to from this movie and also future movies to come? For those of you who have seen Godzilla Resurgence, what are the kind of things you enjoyed and what are the kind of things you disliked about this movie? Whatever your thoughts are, leave a comment below, and don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to Asian Filmist for more reviews and discussions on Asian films. You can also hit us up on Twitter and Facebook, and if you subscribe to our email newsletter, you can receive a free copy of our ebook, The 108 Asian Films for New Fans to Watch. Once again, my name is Ray, and I would love to chat with you on Twitter. You can find my Twitter handle right here. And that's about it for me, guys. Alright everyone, I'm about to watch another movie. I'll be back soon. Promise.